Good evening. Raleigh Water Department meeting for September 16th, 6 o'clock. 3 members present. Larry from the finance, Mary Beth, and Carmen present. First thing we have is the approval of the minutes for September 2nd, 2014. Anybody have any comments on it? Have a chance to look at it?
I have no problem.
I have a motion to accept.
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, do we have some other meeting minutes that we're, need to be approval? What was the previous meeting?
We have some drafts, rough drafts that have to be typed up in my office. So
Okay. How many meeting minutes do we have?
it's about 4.
4 of them?
I believe so, yeah.
Do you think we should have them by the next meeting so we can?
But they should be done.
Okay.
We have an interview tonight.
We did have an interview, however, the candidate has backed out.
Okay. So I guess we skip over that.
And
Huh?
we'll skip over that.
General business. Vote for a motion to give authority to Superintendent Mary Beth Weiser to conduct business pertaining to the signing to approve purchase orders and its relative uses. Do you have any comments?
What's the current policy?
The way we were doing it is one of us was just initialing, stuff that we need, like a napper and that kind of stuff. They, we signed one afterwards, but that's all we had before. One member, originally it was 3 of us, and then we went to 1, and that's the way it was working.
So we would bring them up at every meeting?
Yes. Well, actually, what we, at the end of it, originally we did. The last 6-8 months, when you was chairman, you guys decided to have me come in and just sign them. And you guys just looked at them at the next meeting or when you came in.
Any problems with the current system?
If I may. So currently, which I just found that out, so I'll tell you, I've been signing purchase orders. If I have to wait in between our meetings for the board to approve, me to make a purchase, it's gonna hinder the operation. And so in order things keep moving smoothly, what I did do, of the ones that I've signed, they're carbon copies. So the original copy is being attached with the invoice, and the water department staff has been instructed that they're not allowed to purchase anything unless they have a purchase order with my initials on it. This is what I've been doing because I was not aware of the existing policy. So the pink copy was going to me so that I can do my accounting. And the yellow copy I was putting in the chairman's mailbox so that you can see everything that we're purchasing and we're doing. And we're gonna be putting them in a binder. And they'll be left over here for you guys to take a look at whenever you want to. And so if I have to wait every 2 weeks to have purchase orders signed, we could make 50 things. And it might be something that we need to operate. I know that there's, with the history and everything, and you really didn't have somebody.
That's the only thing I'm nervous about. We had one that went crazy on
And you
us.
had to, you didn't have somebody or whatnot but it's my responsibility as the budget to stay within budget and spend the money appropriately. And so, I mean, that's what we've been doing, and we will continue to do. But if I have to wait for signatures, we're gonna be at a stalemate. I won't be able to move forward with anything without someone to sign off, because that signature gives the person the okay to make the purchase. So without somebody's signature on there, I can't make any purchases.
I think we ought to just think about this, and just, for a couple of weeks and try to figure out, what the problems are. You said there's some problems with stalemate or delays and stuff like that.
But we're spending money all the time. Bills are coming in, purchase orders are being generated. If I have to wait for a signature for something, it's kind of like after the fact. So we're generating these purchase orders, which says, okay, say for example, if it's a Verizon bill for the monthly charges, we're generating a purchase
Well, I
order.
don't think we really need a purchase order for, I mean, that's basically your utility bills that come every
It's for
month.
internal accounting, because currently with the Peachtree software, it's not, it doesn't, I need to be able to
I
keep.
mean,
track of
originally
the
when we
budget.
set these up, it was for like going to, just for instance, going and buying pipe over to Prescott's or over there to Ipswich or Napa, those kind of places. And it got a little bit out of control, and that's why we went the way we did.
Mhm.
I'd like to see if we're gonna do it this way here, I'd like to see a number at the top that, nothing more than this number, unless you at least call one of us and let us know what's going on. You know what I'm saying?
If you want to set a dollar amount cap, that, and we can have discussions if the cap is too low, because of some of the things we purchase might reach that.
I mean, I have no problem, you go to Napa, you need parts for oil or that kind of stuff. I understand that you need something for a break. It's just, I just like one of us to know about it so that, all of a sudden 2 weeks later, we've already purchased the thing and now it's too late to say no. You know what I'm
That's why I
saying?
was putting them in a binder, so it's carbon copy, so whatever we're doing, at any time, that book will be available for review, to see, and the purchase order will describe what it is we're purchasing and why we're purchasing it, so that when you look at it, you will know exactly where the money's being spent, whether it's $1 or $500.
No, I have nothing against the way you're doing it, Mary Beth. The only thing is it got out of control back here a year or so back. And they were spending money left and right.
I know.
And we didn't know nothing about it until we had another meeting. And sometimes the meetings were once a month back then. And by then the bills had already come in. And, it's not right to the people that perform the service to us that we don't pay them. But, we didn't know nothing about it,
Mhm.
is what I'm saying.
Well, I think a lot of the procedure was to get somebody other than my board to review it before it came to the light of the board. And when it came to the board, it was ready and reviewed by the superintendent to make sure that it was within budget and things like that. And then the authority has always been with the board to approve the warrant, so it made sense to make the approval with the purchase order. So I can understand, it might streamline your operation to do that, but I think we ought to look at it, maybe revisit it again in a couple of weeks, That's what I would recommend. Think about it and maybe have some more questions,
Any comments?
I would like a purchase order for everything, however, give Mary Beth the approval to spend up, say, $500, up to $500. Anything over that, she has to come before the board.
How about 1,000?
I mean,
Not at this time.
the board or just notify one of us?
Well, the superintendent is responsible for keeping the budget met.
I understand that, but we have to work with the superintendent, and we have to work for the ratepayers to keep the tight reins on the budget.
I'm not sure, but I don't think that the Board of Selectmen sign purchase orders. And approved purchases.
I have no idea.
That's-
So I'm not so sure that that's part of what the responsibility of the water board is to sign purchase orders, because that comes under
Well,
the,
the thing is, Mary Beth, it got out of control, that's why we had to,
I know,
you know,
but
and
I'm asking.
we're a little
for-
gun shy, you know what I'm saying?
I understand, but I'm asking the board to give me a chance to, you know, run what you hired me for, which was to run the day-to-day operations.
Well, that's why I was saying if we put a number, you know, and other than that, you know, notify us.
And purchase orders kind of comes in the realm of the day-to-day operations, which comes under my jurisdiction.
The selectmen always voted if they were purchasing something.
If they were
Unless it was
purchasing,
something small.
if they were purchasing some capital
That's
items or
different.
something, they would be voting on it. If it was like office supplies, things like that,
Yeah.
they wouldn't, I don't think they would. I
No,
don't think
that's
they would
different.
authorize Debbie to do that, wouldn't they? But, you know, and then, you know, office supplies tend to be under $500. I don't know. Sorry.
Do I have a motion, or do we want to put a
I'd like to put it on
hold on, or
for-
what do you want to do?
Put it on hold for a few weeks, let's look into it again.
Sue?
All right, I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Vote for a motion to put out to bid general engineering services.
So what I prepared is a draft RFP for general engineering services for the water department. Currently, the water department has no contracts with any engineering firm except for the treatment plant, that's a project. So,
I just like to know where those went, because we did have one. I
well,
don't see
even
it.
if there was a contract, they're not an indefinite contract with any engineering firm. In the contract, we specify time for a 3-year contract or 1 year. So even if there was one, it's expired. So with an RFP, there's no cost to the water department, there's no obligation to the water department to give work to any engineering firm or not. It's clearly spelled out. This proposal is with the procurement officer right now for review to make sure that everything is worded appropriately. And this will give engineering support to me, the water superintendent, for projects that might be coming up down the road. So what that does is that it meets the, we'll have a contract with an engineering firm, and there's a whole process. This isn't putting it out to bid. So these companies will be, that want to put in a
Yeah,
proposal.
back and call, is that what you're saying?
They'll put in a package, and there'll be a review process. And each of the engineering firms that come in that want to, you know, bid for this, they'll all be evaluated, all on the same criteria. There'll be like, there's 5 or 6 categories, they'll each be ranked on a scale of 1 to 10, and then we will select 1 or 2 to award this contract to. Again, there is no monies transferred. This is just to have somebody as an on-call services. We don't have that right now. So it's my recommendation that we move this forward for the water department and have, and if we get 25 people that bid on it, they can. But in it, it's worded that we're not obligated to give them work. We could give them 50 contracts or no contracts. So it's worded to cover us.
Well, we've been doing business with Bailey and Ward and
And then we had a problem.
Weston and Sampson, and there were obviously some contracts that obviously they must have had us sign. So have you investigated any kind of contracts that we had with those people? Because we've been hiring them out for the last, you know, umpteen years. So is there anything
No,
on record? Okay.
no, I cannot
So
find anything.
how would they have been paid if they didn't have a contract? I don't understand.
It's just one of those things that, with the way things were running, that there were no contracts, And so going forward, you're gonna start to see me bring to the board RFPs, bid specs, put out services and goods that we don't currently have, that under procurement laws, we have to do these things.
Yeah.
So that when we do have things we have to take care of that requires expertise beyond water department staff, we have these people lined up to assist us with that.
Yeah,
And also in preparing the budget. So for capital improvement projects. So if we, for example, need to have the water tank painted, all right? Having an engineering service that's a company that's on the on-call, they would provide information for us to move forward to be able to get, you know, real-time numbers for preparing for capital and for anything that we're gonna put in the operating budget. So I think this is a very important first step for the water department to move forward to be conducting business, you know, appropriately. That this is typical operations of any water utility or department that would have an engineering firm. There's a specified time frame in the contract, and at that time, there's a clause in there that if we are happy with the services of that, we have the right to extend the contract. At the end of the contract term, if we're not, we put an RFP out again. And again, we try to bring someone in that's gonna work with the water department.
I think it's a great idea, but what I'm concerned about is that, you know, what do we have in place now? Because we've obviously been
We don't have anything.
contacting.
There's nothing in place, other than the contract.
Well, Weston and
Weston and
Sampson
Sampson.
worked last year on a few projects, and so they had to be paid through some other fund, so who called
But it
them up?
wasn't, okay,
Okay.
having the engineer,
I'm not saying, let's go back and do the old practices. Let's go back and just do what we were doing.
The only thing I
I'm not sure
remember,
if, you know, we do have contracts with them, they have duration on them. I don't know, we were bringing them in here.
so what happens is that, okay, for example, the Weston, we have a contract for the engineering services, and then we have for the contract operations for the support staff, while we're short-staffed.
Yeah.
There are contracts for that, there's specified contracts. When the town administrator was securing for contract operations, she put out to bid for anybody who offered this type of service. That's the appropriate way, and anybody who saw what we had to offer could bid on it. And whoever did. Weston and Sampson was selected for that bid, but it went out the proper process.
I know, well, when I first came on, which would be 5.5 years ago, we had a different company that we did, Weston Sampson, that was the in-house one. And it took us over 3 years when Weston Sampson took over to straighten out the mess that they had.
We're not here to throw people under the
I'm
bus.
not.
So
I'm
if you
just
don't
saying.
have something lined up for general engineering services, every time I need to do something for the water department, I will have to be doing bids, putting everything out to bid, every time. With the general engineering contract, for example, say I want to develop a directional flushing program. Having an engineering firm on contract for an extended period of time for general services will allow me to move forward to do that. If we don't, I will have to put out to bid for unidirectional flushing. If I want to move forward and paint the tank, I will have to put up with this contract. I can go to the general engineering service contract. If not, it has to go out to bid.
We just did that. We had the tank cleaned.
It's not the same
And we
thing.
didn't need an engineering firm to help us with that. We just
I'm
did it.
talking about painting the tank, not
Yeah.
cleaning.
There's not much difference between painting the tank and
Yes, there
cleaning it.
is.
What is it?
It's $1.2 million to paint the tank, and it's $7,000 to clean the tank. It's
Okay.
not the same type of thing. The companies come in, they clean the tank, they do an inspection of the interior and exterior, they give us a report, and then based upon that report would probably, I would give it to the engineering firm that was on the retainer for general services.
Yeah.
They would come up with a scope of work that we would put out to bid for painting the tank.
Okay.
It's not the same.
Do I have a motion on this at all?
I'd like to take it under advisement.
I'd like to find out what we were doing in the last 10 years, and what kind of mechanisms gave us the authority to do that. And then we need to correct it. I think Mary Beth needs to correct this if we're doing it wrong, but I want to know what we were doing wrong before I make a decision on it for a vote.
I agree with you, Mary Beth, but I would like to read this over.
Open public meeting, law, do's and don'ts, water superintendent to discuss.
Okay, so one of the laws that we come under as a board and water superintendent is the open public meeting law. And I thought it was very important that we had a discussion because the question has come up, what's our role, what's my role? What are the roles of the people in this room? So, I'm not an expert, I'll tell you that, but I'm gonna just give it my best shot. And then the whole idea of going over this is to make sure that we're conducting business properly. So, what you have in your packet is, it's the open public meeting law in a nutshell, and it goes over, it's the abbreviated version of the Mass law. So some of the things that we need to be careful about how we conduct business is, the first thing is, I report to the water commissioners, the board. The person that I conduct business with is the chair. I can have communications with the chair on the telephone, or we can meet. But the one thing that I cannot do, and the board cannot do, is I cannot have conversations with individual commissioners. So it's not that we can't talk, we cannot talk about water department business. Whether we've talked about it in a previous meeting, so it's kind of out there in the public or not, we cannot have these discussions. It just cannot happen, because it violates the open public meeting law. The other thing is, I cannot take direction from 3 different individuals. I only take direction from one individual on the board, and that's the chair. And that's how it's set up. Because you all need to know what's going on. We cannot, if I have 3 different people coming at me, giving me 3 different directions, we'll be dysfunctional. So everything has to go between the superintendent and the chair. That's how, my understanding that it works. So if, for example, you can't send me an email asking me for information. That violates the open public meeting law. If the board wants to request information, then it needs to be done in this fashion. At the meeting, everybody present. And the board has to vote, do we want this information? Because I don't work for any one individual person, I work for the board. So if there's any information that's requested, it has to come through these, in the form of the agenda and on the meeting. So we discuss it at the meeting. And so outside of this room, we really shouldn't be engaging in any conversations regarding water department business. If you happen to be coming in here because we're signing payroll or the bills, that's great. But we can't have any conversations about water department business.
Well, with that in mind, recently, in the last month or so, we had a meeting and we needed to get some figures on what the town was producing for water, where the water was coming from, what was the capabilities of the treatment plant like that, and the former superintendent was very accommodating. But the board voted that they would, put me in for that research task to work with the superintendent. So is that inappropriate?
Yes. It
No,
has,
why?
we can interact in this room at this meeting. We can't have conversations, you can't stop by to see me, to talk to me about that. If that's what the board has voted on, then we need to have that conversation in this room on the nights that we meet. And it has to be put on the schedule, on the agenda for discussion. So if that's,
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
I didn't make the law, that's the law.
Where's the law say that?
It's the law. And if, going forward, if somebody approaches me, I'm gonna be putting my hands up and walking. I will not participate in violating the law. Because that's what gotten in this department in trouble before, and I will not participate in that. I plan on conducting business the appropriate way going forward. My job is to move this department forward and make things right. And that's how I plan on doing it. I won't. And I don't want to be rude, I don't want to be disrespectful, but I don't want to get myself in trouble, because by me engaging in conversation, I'm just as guilty. And I won't allow it anymore. Just,
Okay, so I don't agree with that, but
you don't have to, we can agree to disagree, but I don't want you to be offended if I just brush you off, because I'm not going to have
so
these
the
conversations.
desire or the pleasure of this board was to get this information about our capacity of producing water here with, you know, getting the numbers and everything. So I can't make a request like that, so.
It can be on the schedule, we
Well,
can
you could,
discuss it.
well, Mary Beth, I'll, you know, putting aside the fact that we have a board here and everything, so if I was to go out there and do a public information request, a letter to this department as a citizen, asking for that information, would you be able to give it to me then?
I think that's a gray area,
Okay.
because you're a water commissioner.
Yeah. I don't think it is.
Well, I like I said, I'm not an expert on the open public meeting law, but I just know that it's not appropriate for us to have sidebars out of this room.
It's not a sidebar, it's just information gathering. But anyways, I wanna move on here. Can you get us a copy of the open meeting law for the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, who was the author of this, this document that you have before us? We've seen it about 3 times now. Who wrote this up?
This came from mass.gov. This came from the state.
Okay. It says, in our case, the original will be retained inside the clerk's office. So if this came off the internet site, why are they saying it's in our case? In our case, though?
I'm sorry, where are you?
Where did you get this document?
I got this off of mass.gov.
Okay.
On the second page on the bottom.
Okay, but on the first page, it says, in our case, the original will be retained inside the clerk's office. Copies will be posted in the hallway outside the clerk's office, so.
And it is,
Okay, so this came off the internet site?
yes.
One thing we used to do, but we haven't recently, is on the posting. We used to just take a copy of it and have it stuck on the door, so if anybody came up, you know, and paid the bill, they could see it, you know, when the
Yes.
next meeting was and
It's
stuff.
posted at town hall, and we usually do post here.
Yeah, we used to always have one here, is what I'm
Yep.
saying.
Yes.
You know, just where they come here to pay the bills, you know, and people can look and see when our next meeting is, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Now, the agendas, is that something that the superintendent's supposed to perform, or?
The agenda is prepared with myself and the chair. The superintendent and the chair prepares the agenda.
Okay.
So what I've been doing is preparing the agenda and emailing it to Roy for him to take a look at. And if I don't hear anything back, that's the agenda that gets moved forward for the meeting tonight. We have to get the agenda in, and I have to get it stamped by Friday before noon time. And if there's a holiday that falls in there, then we have to do it by Thursday. So, in order to meet the 48-hour posting time. No, actually, I just these are some things that have come up, and I just think it's important that.
No, I'm just, you know, what's next?
Okay, so let me see. So the other thing is customers that, as far as it goes with, describing roles, what is the role of the commission, the role of the water department and the superintendent. So, you are public figures, so the public will, does occasionally approach you with their concerns. We've had the issues with the water bills, with the interest rates tacked on and checks not being received. Some of the water customers are approaching you, but I've been working with Penachuk on that. So one of the things that I've done, I've asked Penachuk to provide us with some business cards that I'd like each of you to take a little stack with you. When a customer approaches you, I know that you're just trying to help, but you really need to direct them to Penachuk. And Penachuk will have the issue and will take care of the issue. Because that is part of the day-to-day operation, and the water commissioners shouldn't be trying to do research and follow up. That's my job. So you let me know that this is happening, and it's my job to take care of that. So I thought this would be a handy little thing that we could give people out.
One of my complaints is when the water department makes appointments with people, 3 times they failed to show. The poor lady's sitting home waiting for the water department to show. That's unacceptable. They finally went down to 24 Rabbit Avenue today.
I agree with you, and it is 100%.
Terrible.
It's 100% our fault that we miss these appointments. What I've done so that we're not in that situation is I'm not gonna be making excuses because I'm not one for making excuses. I take responsibility for things, but we've recently added to the staff. Before, we had the one-man show going.
Even if you had one-man show going, you couldn't make it. All it would take is a phone call
I agree.
to the residents that we cannot make it today. They don't waste a day waiting around.
I agree with that. So what we're doing right now is, and it's partly my fault, the work orders were going out, they were coming in, they were going out, and they weren't getting followed up with. That's my fault for not following up, but I've changed that. Now, when the work orders come through, 2 copies are being made. One is going in a designated area for the operator to take. It says work orders. He knows it's there. We've been doing this for a week, and we've been taking care of the work orders. The other copy is coming to me. I'm also getting a report from Penachuk on open and outstanding work orders so that I can review and make sure that this doesn't happen again. And that we will be calling customers going forward if we are unable to make an appointment.
It seems like you're going a long way around when you're going through Penachuk, when the water department could get down and tend to somebody's problem. Perhaps you could have a computer to talk to Penachuk's computer, so when somebody dropped a check off, Carmine could be on the computer and tell them that it's paid instead of somebody paying, they have to cancel checks and yet they're still putting interest on.
Well, we
That's
can
unacceptable.
we have limited access to the to Penachuk's records. There are records, but we have limited access. I'm pretty sure that Carmen can access a customer's account, see what their history is, see if they're current on their water bill, and see what's going on, just a view.
What went on with 24 Rabbit Avenue today when the water boys went down, men went down?
That was to put the data logger in? What
Yes.
I have not seen the results
All
of
right,
it.
and then another question, another resident, 449 Main Street, this has been going on for a month now.
449 Main Street, that one I spoke with the customer myself. We've provided her with additional information. She wanted, we gave her the report from the data logger, and then she wanted an expanded amount of data. So we gave that. It's quite a bit, and she was going to take a look at it, and we'll go from there.
But we've been in touch with them.
Yeah, we had the
Yeah,
options
it took
about,
3 times, went on for 3 or 4 weeks.
the options.
No, but I mean, and Mary Beth's defense, I mean, she just started and she's trying to get everything under control, it's just,
I said 10 minutes ago, I'm not here to throw somebody under the bus. I just want these things taken care of.
Yeah, and we're going to, and it
Customers.
is, it's all our fault. I mean,
Customers
it's-
first.
If you don't have the customers, we wouldn't be here.
No, I agree. And so we're gonna be working towards that this doesn't happen again. And that, I spoke with the operators about this, and that, if they cannot keep, an appointment, they're gonna be calling Penachuk and letting them know that we won't be unable to keep it for whatever the reason is, and that Penachuk will reschedule, with the customer.
That's what I don't understand.
Then instead of calling Penachuk, we can't have Carmen just call?
The
And
resident,
tell her that if something came up, the water break or whatever,
We can, but we're paying Penachuk for customer service.
you know, we ain't get
And
much.
we have to call Penachuk, they have all the records. We don't have the ability to go in and edit work orders. We don't know if Penachuk, if we're making appointments, we don't know what Penachuk has already scheduled. They're scheduling for us, and they're scheduling out in like the following weeks to come. So if we start doing things in-house, we're gonna kind of be, interfering in each other's ability to schedule. So I think it's better if we just, Rob calls Penachuk and Penachuk calls the customer, and the record will be updated, because they keep all our records.
well, when they went down to 449 Main Street, the one went down there, they gave the lady a data log for 2 days instead of the whole month.
Well, she has everything now. The customer has everything that she requested, and, waiting to hear back from the customer on how they'd like to proceed. So,
There has to be a better way to turn these checks in so the people get credit right away instead of something crossing in the mail and they take away the discount when it's been paid.
when the bills come in, when we pick them up, we have 3 locations we pick water bills up from, Carmen?
Post office, the PO box, town hall, and right here out in front.
So, we every day go around to these locations and, get all the water bills. We process them here, and so that Penachuk knows that they've been received, because once if we receive anything here, it's considered paid and on time, even though it's not posted to the account. So what we're doing is that whatever mail we've picked up today that has, the water bills, the, outside of the envelopes are being stamped, and we're stamping them with the previous day's date, so that, to take into consideration of, snailmail. So, when Penachuk receives this package from us, they're using the date stamped on the envelope. So if inside the customer's envelope, if they wrote the check for, they're not going by the date on the check. They're going by the day it was received by us here. So to add a little extra, we're stamping it the day before. So if the checks that these people are mailing are dated 3 weeks earlier, because Penachuk has been doing research, so we're not posting to the account the day of the check. It's the day we receive it. So if the day we receive it is after the discount rate, then no, they're not gonna get a discount.
I can understand that, but these have been cleared before the discount rate was up. The check's cleared.
Okay, I will,
Is this something new that you started stamping them recently, or has this been going on?
Well, they've always been dated, the day they were received.
These folks have never had a complaint in all their years.
And they just have to doing it up there?
They just have to go by whatever's in the envelope. If it said they received on the 16th, even though they get it on the 18th or 19th or whatever.
So that's what Penachuk does?
Yeah,
You
they
look
go-
at the date.
They go by the
Seems to
date
me,
received,
no checks,
yeah.
you had one here to talk to them.
Yeah,
And as soon as the check came in, he pushed a few buttons, and boom, there, and the check has the information.
is that something that can be checked out when you talk to them next time?
Excuse me?
Is that something that you can check out when you're talking to them the next time?
Absolutely. Every time we've had an issue come up, I've been working with Penachuk to try to find a resolution. And they're really doing a good job. I've been working with Tara, and she's been doing extensive research onto each of these individual accounts every time something's come up. And to find out, I mean, and the level of effort that, she's putting a lot of level of effort in to find out what's going on and what went wrong.
I believe it, but we just want these problems corrected
Absolutely.
sooner than later.
And we are working to try to do that.
Do you have anything else on this?
Yeah, can I?
Yep.
So the other, getting back to the open public meeting law, if the water commissioners, as a water customer, have a high water bill or something is going on with your residents, you also need to be calling Penachuk yourselves. Not asking us to call Penachuk and set up an appointment for you. You need to call Penachuk yourself, just like
Excuse me,
everybody else.
Carmine was another one in the envelope, but I gave you two, there's three.
Okay.
That was it, that's, you know,
So can you just give me a thumbnail overview? So customer has a problem with his water bill. He calls up Penachuk. He can't express that to Carmen, and Carmen can't express that to Penachuk.
Carmen's
Yeah,
gonna-
the customer.
Carmen's gonna have to refer the customer to Penachuk, because we cannot create work orders, we can't set appointments. We're paying Penachuk for customer service, and that's what was voted on and what moved forward, and so we, it has to go through Penachuk.
Okay.
And if the customer isn't getting any resolution, you know, then, you know, maybe we get involved, but we really need to try to make this work. I mean,
So is Penachuk tracking these complaints?
yes, they are.
And so when they get a complaint, who do they contact
I
here?
don't think we did this, check it.
A complaint, all right, so a complaint,
Not
we
a
fill it.
complaint or a water bill issue?
They generate a work order, they take the information from the customer, they get a generated work order, and then they're emailing me the work order and Carmen.
Okay.
And so we can see what's coming in, then they get printed out, and then then the operators take care of whatever it is, whether it's a water quality issue, you know, a pressure issue, whatever the situation is, the water department takes care of it. Once the work order is complete and we've done our job, then we send those back, it gets sent back to Penachuk, and then they update the record and they close out the work order.
Pretty much.
If you get a chance, could you look back, and Stu and I were just talking about it. I remember when we, you know, had them come in. They were supposed to be doing building services, and all of a sudden now it's like they're trying to take over the whole thing, or they are taking over the whole thing, and I just don't understand why that came about.
It's billing and customer service.
I don't remember anything to do with the customer service.
Do you have a copy of the contract?
I do.
Gentlemen, when these, 449 Main Street, 24 Red Avenue, these bills come in, I think we should adjust them because the water department took so long to get down there. It's not the customer's fault.
Next bill, take a look at it when it comes in. Right?
Well,
Go
what would the process be to do adjustment to the bill? Would it be an abatement they'd have to apply for?
Well, we'll have to see what, you know, what the,
Till we have, like we have been doing, averaging, you know,
The resident gets the abatement form from Penachuk,
from Penachuk.
and the form gets filled out by the resident and sent back to Penachuk. And then it waits on a response from the board as far as what we're gonna be doing with it.
Okay, so the Penachuk's handle the abatement paper?
we're not voting on abatements on what him?
No, you are. You will be. Just wait for the information to get back to me from Penachuk, no, to me from Penachuk, and you guys look at it.
Maybe we should have some blank abatement things here so people come in, or What one?
But we
No,
s-
they-
we
they
still have
wanted
to
all
go
to
to
go to
Pennachuck.
Still have to go to Penchik, so it'd be kind of like defeating the purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's defeating a lot of purposes for them. We move on to it.
Anything else in the open meeting law?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Staff schedules, increased operations of the water treatment plant at 12 hours per day.
Yes, so, the water treatment plant needs to run, at a minimum of 12 hours, per day. And in order to do that, with the staff we have, we've, changed, just wanted to inform the board that we've just changed the work hours. So one operator is working from, 6 to 2, 6 AM to 2 PM, and the second operator is working, 9 to 5. The other, change in work schedules is the administrative assistant. We're trying to meet the board's request of keeping the office open. So on the Tuesdays that we have meetings, the office will be open. We're running this as a trial. We want to try to come to a set schedule. But right now, the water department will be open on Tuesday, the second and third Tuesday of the month, till 6 o'clock. We're here anyway for the meeting, so we're gonna keep the office open until 6, and then once the meeting begins, the office will be closed so that we can have our meeting. So on that day, the administrative assistant will be working 11:30 AM to 8 PM on that particular day. And we're gonna try that, and see how that goes, and if it's not working, and then we'll work on something else. But I did want to mention about the schedules and things. We have been trying really, really hard to keep this office open. I know you requested that the office doesn't close. It's virtually impossible. We have a one-person staffed office. We make bank runs. We go to the post office. We have errands, local water department errands. We go to town hall, and there's just no getting around it with one person. The office today, even with the changing of the, today was our first day doing 11 to 8, and I think in the afternoon we were still closed with lunches and breaks, because when someone's gone to lunch, the office is closed. There isn't anybody here to.
I think the only thing that I have to say about that is you need to post the hours so it's the same each day.
And which we're trying to do.
You know, if it's 1 to 2 or
Yep.
12 to 1 or however it works, just so everybody, like the post office, is
Yes.
closed, the same time each day.
So that's what we're trying to do, is we're gonna come up with for this office, some standard, times. And this just all went into play this week.
No, I'm just saying, and not one day 11 o'clock, the next day 3 o'clock, you know what I'm trying to say, it's just make it
Well,
uniform.
the only day that it's gonna come into play.
Tuesday would be different, because,
Tuesday's different because, the lunch break is gonna be from 3 to 3:30. That's kind of midpoint, kind of like we do now if you were working on.
no, but if we could make that like on a schedule and have it on the door,
Yes,
you know what I'm
we
saying?
will. But the thing is, we can post the regular work hours, but what's gonna happen is that, we'll have regular times that we're open.
Yeah.
But if we say we're open at 7 AM, and for some reason, we have to leave this, building, we have to close. It's gonna be an unscheduled closing. When the administrative assistant is out sick, goes on vacation, the office is closed. There's not gonna be nobody here to receive customers or answer the telephone. So these are things that I'm trying to work on, how we're gonna go about, doing this. But that's just.
It's just like when you do, have the sign up, open, close, whatever. And is there any way you could shorten up that recording when you call this number?
Yeah, we could.
I'm going down the road with, he calls, leaves me a message, wants me to call him, and I can listen for 5 minutes to the machine,
People like to be informed.
If we could shorten it up a little bit, it would be
That's
nice.
what it is. Sometimes you make it too short, people tended to complain, there wasn't enough information on it, or, now since I've lengthened it a little bit, there are no complaints, so.
Except for one.
Except-
Well, I mean, I'm going down the road, I go into
Yeah.
a bad area,
Yeah,
you know, then all of a sudden I lose you, by the time it's ready to leave a message, you know?
yeah. You can call my cell phone as well, too, it's fine.
You have anything else under that?
No, I just wanted to inform the board about, you know, the change in working hours, and try to accommodate the needs of the department.
New business, water department staffing plan.
So we kind of touched on this, you know, at our last meeting, and so what I've done is, this is the draft, this is the official draft, for your, of the staffing plan, with, the memo, includes, my, changes, additions and deletions. It doesn't talk about salaries or anything at this point, but just to give you an idea, on the flow chart, it's the existing plan we have now, and then the second one is the proposed, staffing plan for the future. So you could take a look at that, and then, we could put that on the schedule down the road. But one of the things that I'm proposing is to add some additional, operators. And I'd like to do that when I prepare for the next year fiscal's, operating budget. So I would be looking for, you know, a decision on how we're gonna move forward with this, so that it includes.
When do you start preparing that?
Well, I think it's January, but I'm gonna be starting to work on the budget, soon, because that comes very fast, you know, with everything else, so I'll be.
So you'd like a decision with it by November or December?
Probably November, I'm looking for a decision from the board, we can put this on the schedule again and
Yep,
have
no,
some
I was-
discussions.
Right now, you know,
You want to go just over it briefly and just tell us what your, why we have to have so many different people?
Sure. So, just briefly, currently we have on staff a water superintendent, an administrative assistant, one primary operator, one seasonal laborer, 2 full-time secondary operators, and 1 part-time secondary operator. The operators' positions right now, currently, they are responsible for taking care of both the distribution and treatment side of the operation. And which would mean they're responsible for the drinking water, delivering the drinking water through the treatment plant, and then also main breaks, service leaks, work orders, customer complaints, everything that has to do with, you know,
right now we only have one full-time secretary, correct?
2. There's 2 open positions for secondary.
Right, but I mean, right now we only have one.
Filled. We have 2 full-time secondaries. One of them is filled, and the other one is open.
So I'm saying, we have one now. We have one primary right at the moment. And
Right.
we have one secondary and one part-time secondary.
Positions that are filled.
Right.
But the staffing plan in general, this is what we have funded on the books
Right.
that we can staff.
But I'm just saying now, because the other guy didn't come in tonight for us to.
Right. So, for the future staffing plan, it involves splitting the department into 2 sub-departments, if you will. So we would have the treatment side of the organization, which means that that group of people's responsibility would be the treatment plant and making the drinking water. And then the distribution side, that would be the heavy equipment operator, digging for main breaks, the service leaks, hydrant flushing program, customer complaints, backflow protection, everything that comes along with the distribution. It is impossible for those treatment plant operators to, customer service will be 0. We will be having situations that's, you know, upsetting the community with our response. So we need to have proper staffing so that we can take care of the needs of the customers and everything else that goes along with running a water department, because if the treatment plant operators are in a hole and we're digging to fix a main break and they get an alarm, we're gonna have to backfill that hole and go to the treatment plant and take care of the issue. It could be a small issue or a big issue. So they can't do both.
Going from the first staffing page to the second.
Yeah.
Now, instead of calling them primary and secondary, we're gonna call them chief and assistant chief. Correct?
So each one will have a primary operator. So on the treatment side, I propose calling the primary operator the chief operator, and he would be the primary. On the distribution side, we'd end up having two primary operators. One would be primary for treatment, and one would be primary for distribution. So that would be the distribution foreman would be the primary operator for the distribution side. So we're a one-shift operation, so we don't have to have 3, 4, 5 secondary operators. Because when we let DEP know who's the primary and secondary, it's only one. So we have to decide who we're gonna list with the DEP out of all the secondaries we have, because it's only one. We don't list all of them, just one. So on the treatment side, the secondary operator would be the assistant chief operator. So he would be the secondary for the treatment side. In the absence of the chief, the primary, the assistant chief, the secondary, would fill the role of the primary in his absence and run things. Same thing on the distribution side. We would have an assistant foreman, which would be the secondary for distribution, and in the absence of the foreman, his role would be to step into that role to run the department. So it covers for like when people are out on vacation and other things, that you have somebody that's second in line to take over.
To go with the other plan, it would raise the rate substantially, and I'm definitely against raising the rates.
Well, we haven't looked at that yet, so we don't know if it's any, like I said, there's no salaries involved. This is just on paper to staff the department, and I haven't had the opportunity to take a look at, because we're going to be creating some new positions, eliminating some that we currently have, and some of them are just title changes. So to say, I think it's a little premature to say that this plan will raise rates. And I am well aware and understand the board's position on raising rates. And so we try to conduct business so that that doesn't happen, or it doesn't happen very often, and only if we absolutely have to. When I get that far, you know, what it's gonna do to the operating budget, what it's going to do to the rates, and we can discuss it from there. But to say it's premature to say that developing this and moving this forward will do that.
Are there any grants out there that's available that you can apply for hiring some of the help, different operators that like we get them and we get them at a discount for like the first year, and then we have to pick them up at the end of the year? Is there any of that kind of stuff out for the water department?
Well, not to say that there isn't, I've never heard of it, but I can
I just,
dig around and see. Okay, I can see if there's anything.
anything that would help us, you know what I'm saying? Well, this is the new thing going online, maybe there's something. Chase it in the back page and we can find.
Yeah, sure, I will look into it. So that's basically it in a nutshell, and we can bring this back to the table, you know, at a later meeting.
What do we need for operators down there now that we're doing 12 hours? We have one guy coming in from 6 to 2, and the other guy's coming in from 10 to
9 to 5.
9 to 5.
Well, because we, excuse me, we can't run the plant, it has to be manned. So, remember, we have a treatment process. This is completely different from what Raleigh had before.
Now, this 9 to 5 guy, is he only up there from 2 to 5, and so he's down here,
No.
or he's up
His
there?
8-hour shift is Monday through Friday.
And
9
it's
to
always
5.
up there, not down here?
No. They are reporting up there, they're punching in, they're starting their day and ending their day at the water plant. They're not here. The only people in this building is Carmen and I, and mostly Carmen. So That's the focus. It has to be that treatment plant. It's online. It's gonna be online forever. It's not gonna stop. We've got now, you know, we'll get into it when I get into the update on the treatment plant on the next, on the agenda. But the staffing, it has to be staffed. Those filters can't lay dormant. The process cannot lie dormant. Right now, we have to.
Nothing.
48 hours, right?
48 hours.
That's the maximum. That's the maximum, it's 48 hours, so, we
Oh.
need,
That covers you on Sunday then.
How much,
There'll be somebody up there.
how much water are they producing on the 12-hour shift?
I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that.
Well, that's one of the things I was researching, so we'll talk about that later, I guess. I mean, how could I get that information, other than asking the chairman here to post it on the next meeting?
We can put it on the schedule for the next meeting, and then we can, that's an agreement?
Yeah, they'll give us, what, say 2 weeks, and we could have, you know, maybe broke down a little bit if you could. You know, like during the weekends or whatever, you know, see how we,
So, if I'm gonna be pulling this information together, I'm gonna need a little more specific. Do you wanna buy well source? Do you wanna buy just the treatment plant? Do you want it from
Well, I'll
Saturday or
give you all
Sunday?
that information and you can hand it to her, so, this communication is the big issue with her, so what I'll do is I'll give you, I already gave you an email, I don't know if you had a chance to
no,
look
I
at it.
haven't.
So I'll elaborate on that email, give it to you, and then you can distribute it to the superintendent. So we can look at the production.
My sister's gone away, so she has got the computer turned back on for me.
Well, how about if I just give you a copy of it?
Okay.
I'll put it in your mailbox.
All right.
So we could get, if we get a good feel for what we're actually, yeah, I thought that maybe you would know what the production is down there, but if we know what the production is and what our needs are with the community, then we can, you know, look at, do we really need a 12-hour shift? So you're saying we need a 12-hour shift. Could we get away with an 8-hour shift by producing more water on an 8-hour shift?
It's not about producing more water, it's about keeping the system wet, keeping the filters energized and running. And when we go to the automated mode, the plant's gonna run longer than 12 hours, but we won't have to man it. The plant is gonna, right now, because it's manned, we have to keep that plant running. You just spent $12 million to produce clean drinking water. I would think that the town would want us to keep that plant in operation. It's a big investment,
I'm not
so,
suggesting we don't quite keep it in operation, but an 8-hour shift is what we originally.
but they're working an 8-hour shift. I've changed
Well, I
their
know,
work
so that
hours.
hasn't changed since what the time we decided to put the plant in our system. So we were planning on 8-hour shifts when we decided on the plan. So the 12-hour shift is something that I think we ought to look into more closely.
I had a
Then we-
conversation with the Powell Corporation, which I mentioned at the last meeting, and they're the ones I had the conversation that said, no, you're not running the plant enough. It needs to be run for.
Now, when you say automated, how long before something like that
They
happens?
have to get permission from the DEP, they have to give us the authority to.
So they have to come in and see what's going on?
After a certain period of time, and they're satisfied, and we've met the requirements, we can, you know, go to the automation, which, but it's gonna run anyway, because you've got two sources running.
But somebody doesn't have to be there, what I'm saying, if it's automated. They just have to be on call for the computer or something? No.
No. See, that's where the misconception is. You had pump stations before. You had 3 separate buildings with one or several wells, a well field going through here. It was a pump, some day tanks, and some chemical feed equipment. They visited the station once a day. They did their checks. They filled the day tank. And then they moved on. And that was it. And it might have taken them all but 2 hours. This is different. There,
So when, I went out to Gardner when we went out there before we started this. And the guy explained to us out there when we went to the meeting that he was there during the day. And when that thing ran at night, it was on a computer, an alarm went off on his phone, I guess.
Mhm.
And he could do something with the computer at his house to open a valve, close a valve, you know, one of those kind of things. I thought that's what who's gonna be able to do here.
So when we are automated, we'll be working, you know, the regular 7 to 3 and 7 to 3:30 shift. Then there'll be a rotating on-call schedule. And yes, the operator will be responding to the skater alarms that come in on their cell phone. And you can't control everything from the laptop. There's certain things that
Yep.
there's certain things that as an operator, he's gonna get an alarm. If he sees something that says low chlorine, he's not gonna wanna just make a change and an adjustment in the computer. He's gonna wanna go in, because a low chlorine alarm could mean, if we're pumping water, it could mean a violation because we're pumping unchlorinated water. It could be many of things. It could be a leak, and we've got chemicals spraying all over the place, so they're gonna be responding and going in, and when we get this system up and running, there'll be alarms. There's even alarms for an intrusion alarm. We just responded to an intrusion alarm, not through the SCADA, because we're not ready for that yet. But the alarm company, we responded because the intrusion alarm went off. It was something in the building that set off one of the motion sensors. So these things, they will be responding, but before you had pump stations. It is opposite ends of operating. This is a full-fledged filtration plant.
No, I'm just going by what they told us in Gatineau when we went out, that, you know,
For the operation, but it has to be manned. It's not gonna be, it's not like a pump station. A pump station is unmanned. This is a treatment plant. It will be staffed and manned 5 days a week, and 4 hours in the morning and 4 hours in the morning on Saturday and Sunday. Excuse me. There are process samples they have to run, adjusting of chemicals. The misconception when somebody says that the plant can run itself. Yeah, the computer's gonna run and turn things on and off, but it takes the people to maintain that and keep it running. They'll be doing things every single day to keep that automated system going. So that will be during the regular 8-hour shift. They'll be doing their maintenance. There'll be daily, weekly, monthly. There's all kinds of things that are gonna have to take place, and the primary operator, and I've already been talking about that, because we're gonna be starting coming up on monthly things that we're gonna have to start adding in to the day-to-day operation, because we've been running things. So there's gonna be fittings that need to be greased, you know, adjustments need to be made. We're still getting in the startup mode where we're adjusting things and the process. You know, it's to put out the clean drinking water. So that's what we're working on. But it's not like we're gonna be, once this is up and automated, everybody's gonna be back here. That's not gonna happen. They're all gonna be up there.
See, I didn't think of it that way, Mary Beth. I thought that if it was running semi-automatically, and alarms would help with a computer assisted operation would automatically shut down a pump. And if it shut down a pump, of course it wasn't producing water, the alarm would go off, the person with the beeper would be there, and then he'd have to respond to something like that. If he was out fixing a break, doing a hydrant replacement or something like that, so.
But that's not feasible. If you're in the middle, you've got a hole in the ground, you've taken a hydrant out of service.
I'm not saying it's gonna
that's
happen every
the line.
time, but I'm just saying that if
But
that,
these things
if
happen.
that should happen, you know, there would be some kind of a response to something like that, so.
Well, my recommendation is to split the
I know,
department,
I know.
and, you know, the board's gonna do what they're gonna do, but I discourage not at least
Yeah.
doing overtime, increasing the staff, because
But
you have people going
for
on
the sake-
vacation and
I
sick
know, I
time,
know that,
and
I know
you
that.
can't be down to one person for the whole
Oh, I
department.
know, you have to have contingencies, but, you know, for the sake of just, you know, looking at it in our eyes, we've been operating in, albeit, you know, very simple treatment of our water for the last, you know, 50 years, 60, 70 years, okay? Still, we have manned people, you know, manning those things, and those pumps would fail from time to time when the guys are out fixing a street break or something like that. Wouldn't happen too often, but, you know, it probably has happened, you know, 3 or 4 times over the last 50 years. So, I mean, there's always a contingency upon what happens, and this plant, correct us if I'm wrong, because I've talked to, you know, some of the people that were building it, and they said that, you know, if something should break, that you would have, the plant would shut down, and then you'd have to respond by repairing it. So, you could call into a subcontractor like, you know, Penachuk or somebody to come in and fix it, or some other engineering firm, if you had to. So there's always a contingency to take care of these things. I'm not sure that I think that or maybe this board feels that you gotta have 2 or 3 bodies down there all the time to make sure everything's just greased up right. I'm not sure.
I've been operating water treatment plants for 20 years. I have never not had a staff at a water plant. It has always been split, distribution and treatment. And I will do whatever the board wants, but at least
But
I've done my part in saying what
If you
it
have a
should be.
staff of 3 or 4 people and they're in the town working on the water system while the system is running, they have ample time to get there. It's less than 5 minutes typically from where they are. So if they operate out of that treatment plant building, and say they do some tasks like, you know, check on the well number 2 and things like that, then there is ample time with the staff that you have to kind of, you know, cover that base, which is the treatment plant.
All right, we're currently doing that and it's not working. It's not working now. We are currently doing that. They are trying to respond to the needs of the customers. We have active leaks, which we're not able to attend to.
Active leaks, we had, where are the active leaks?
We
right
have
now?
service leaks that need to be repaired. One of them, they just went out to look at today, but it's been a leak that's been going on for over a month. There isn't adequate staff to take care of both.
What was that one?
I'm sorry, the street address escapes me right now, but I handled it this morning. So it's not working. The treatment plant is a different animal. It is not the same. We have to be looking forward. And if we continue to operate the way we are, with the existing staff we have, then this community is gonna be very upset with this department.
Now, we could at least get back up to where we were, it'd be, you know,
Which, you know, we're moving forward. We voted to, you know, to put forth an article at the special town meeting to shift the monies in the existing budget to bring on the distribution, I think it's called a labor treatment operator. And he's gonna be working out of this office so that we can keep up with the work orders and we can, you know, do dig safes and the stuff that comes in for the distribution side. So that will help if that moves forward and we'll be able to do
We
that.
have an article in the special town meeting?
Yes, we're gonna talk about that, but
Okay.
at the joint meeting, we voted to do that.
We didn't vote, did we?
Yeah, we
Yes,
did.
you did.
no, I mean, originally, before we had 5 people here, and we're still not, with you and Cameron involved, we're only at 5, correct?
I think I did, when it said
Yeah, we
5
got
people.
2 full-time guys and a part-time, and you and Cameron, so I mean, we're still down what we were 3 years ago.
Yeah, but we're down from 3 years ago because we had to float a $12 million bond.
Well, no, we had problems with the health, what happened, but I mean,
And the
we
help, but
never,
we wanted to keep the rates the same, so that's what happened.
I could just.
It's all tied into the rates.
and we've taken 2 people out of this mix and sent them up there, so I mean, we get nobody back here, we've gotta have somebody back here.
So specifically, what is this, can you elaborate on the article that we are putting forward at the special town meeting?
Did you wanna do the next old business?
But are you done with the water treatment plant update, or have you got more to say now?
Nope, go for it. There you go. We talked about the staffing plan.
Under old business, I have something to say. First part of July, water department was kind enough to put a temporary pipe from a hydrant at Bread Street's Lane, the head of Bread Street's Lane down to the community garden. It was supposed to be tied in with the main in 2 weeks. Well, here it is, September 16th, it's time to, fall's here, we don't need the water now, it's time to disconnect it and roll the pipe up. Winter's coming in. Also at the same time, blow the lines out at the Common Cemetery and down the Landon.
I met with a couple of the folks from the community garden, and we talked about that issue yesterday, and there were no issues. They understand the situation with the water department, and when the time is right, we will look into tapping the main and doing a permanent run. Right now, they have their temporary service, and we'll go out and they'll be calling to schedule an appointment for us to remove the meter, and when they're ready to blow off the system. And next year, they will continue with the temporary service unless things have changed.
We still have a few more weeks.
There's nobody to tap the main and do this.
There's a frost, one of these nights they were talking about it on the weather.
I'm still using water now, cemetery.
I'm still watering.
Keep my flowers going for my wife.
But I'm involved with the community garden, and we will be working with them to get them the, you know.
One of these days there'll be a permanent line down there if they ever
Yes.
built there, but for now, it's time to, they don't need the water now at this time of year.
Right, but they'll be calling us when they're ready for us to come out and remove the meter at the hydrant. So they're gonna call us, because yes, they are still watering. They still have crops and flowers and things, and they're still gardening up there, so we can't shut them off. But they'll call us, and again in the spring, when they're ready to start gardening again and watering their crops, they'll contact us, and we'll go out and we'll put the temporary service up. And then when the time comes, and we'll work together.
Just have to keep a close eye on the weather to see that, you know, we're gonna have some frost.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say. I don't want it out there with icicles.
Right. No, I mean, just keeping a close eye and
Yep.
we'll have to do something.
There's ice on my windshield Saturday morning up north.
Good place for it up there, so.
Yeah, that's
Anyway,
Okay, now,
Fennel Drive, we need to get something going on that. We've gone round and round on that for years.
have you been updated at all on that, Mary Beth, of what we're gonna do there in Fennel Drive?
no, I have not.
And the loop system, the
Is it
loop
with Fenero?
Fenno.
Oh, Fenno, okay.
right down the street here, and it'll take you up to see your nursing home, you know. But we need to get working on that, to see what we can do and when we can do it. And
For a
some
main extension?
Yes,
yes.
to loop,
Well, that would be a capital project.
we realize
So if
that.
that's something, you know, we'll have to be getting some pricing for,
That's what I'm saying, we gotta get moving instead of just talking about it, you know, some estimates, you know, some timelines or something, you know?
We need to get the ball rolling on it.
okay, but understand that if it moves forward and it's capital, that we would be not able to do this until the next year's budget, because the money won't be available until after July.
We understand
Okay.
that, but,
Instead of just
time
talking
goes
about
on. We've been talking about this for years and years now.
Okay.
In other words, we need an article for the May town meeting.
No,
That incorporates this line. It's probably, how many feet? It's maybe 2,200 feet or something like that still.
I forget now, I went out there with a wheel with Mark. And I forget
2,200
now.
feet of water main, and how many customers are on this will be on this extension?
Customers are not the issue, safety is the issue.
This
Well, I'm gonna have to-
This is a-
Last December, Kittery Avenue had a water break. They had to shut down half the street, Mansion Drive, a nursing home up there, there's a school up there, and all the folks, the residents up there. This needs to be looped, so somebody at the end's not getting stagnant water in for fire safety.
I mean, that nursing home, I don't know if you've been up there yet or not, but it's pretty good size.
Okay. I'm gonna have to take a look at this.
Yep.
And, you know, cost out the job. and-
No, but we'd like to get moving
Okay.
forward with it, and, you know,
Well, we
give us an
want to give
update.
you notice right now, because it doesn't make sense to give you notice in like March, you know.
Thank you for the.
No, but I mean, you can take a ride up there, you'll see exactly what
Yeah,
Stu's
okay.
talking about. And,
There was another project,
quite an operation up there. And
there was another loop going on, and I don't know if those guys ever did that.
There is another
Yeah.
one. Where is that?
Over there, Christopher. You know,
From
we're gonna move that
Christopher
from,
over-
the one that comes up the industrial park off Route 1.
Yeah,
In the
Was
Vale
that ever
Circle,
done?
was that it?
I don't believe that was it?
Is that in the Vale Circle?
yeah, Interville
Yeah.
Circle over to.
Going Christopher and with the other loop off.
Yeah.
They were all in here looking for permission and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
I don't know if that ever got done or not. John Scott was involved in that.
And I've been told there's a new law, chapter 90. Carmine can explain it better than I can.
I think Mary Beth could probably, we talked about it, about the chapter 90.
Okay, so we're talking about chapter 90 now, but that's not on the schedule. We're-
Senator Tarr and Representative Hill made it known to Carmine.
All right. If we want to talk about chapter 90, I mean, we really need to stick to the schedule. We
Right, put it on the
told-
next agenda.
Put it on the next agenda.
So chapter 90 regarding to what? Paving what?
Pavement with the employees' part.
I think Mr. Dalzell is just bringing up the fact that there is some available money, or could be available money, we should be
Exactly.
looking at that, into
Put
that.
it on the agenda for the next meeting.
And, but then, you know, if we're gonna look at getting this project done, we gotta do it before the frost comes in.
Well, I'm not in favor of doing the sides at $25,000 a side. Mary Beth had 60,000. I don't know where the estimate came from, but we had an estimate up front here for 9,500. How do you get 25,000 on each side that's going down the sides?
Where did that number come from?
The number came from, it's a project. It's not just paving the parking lot. We have a consent order that has been outstanding since 2012 with the Conservation Commission to take care of whatever went on out back. So a paving company is gonna have to come in and help me with the grading to do the proper drainage so that we can comply and take care of once and for all the consent order. So it's a project, it's not just paving, it's the whole thing.
In the meantime, I realize that, I mean, that's something that you can get done this year, for sure. But in the meantime, we need to do something out front here.
You have a backhoe and you have a backhoe operator. They can't take care of the grading.
Who's
out
running
there.
the treatment plant?
You
He's
have an-
running the treatment plant. There's no time for him to come down here and take a backhoe to do anything other than if there's a crisis or an emergency. I've been trying to get this across to you that we have no people. If we had staff, we could do these things. We wouldn't be subbing out. We wouldn't be having Weston Sampson engineers in here. We'd be doing everything ourselves. I would love to do that. I would love to assign somebody on the backhoe. I don't have that luxury. We have to pick and choose what we get done. And it's very small. We can only get a small amount of stuff done. The work orders, the dig safes, and running the treatment plant. That's all we can do.
Okay,
That's
so
all we can do.
what was the comment about the backhoe?
Wanted the backhoe to come out here and do something.
No, it's nothing to do with everything.
No,
It's all
out
about-
back, the grading.
This we want to get, even if it's just minor. Before somebody falls in the pit, we've got to do something, it's safety.
See, there's existing paving
you know.
that needs to be maintained out front here.
I mentioned
These guys had asked, been helping out the staff here for pricing. So they gave 3 bids, and then to replace the existing paving, to get those potholes out, is a maintenance thing. That's what they plan on doing. Going back here, I was involved with the order of conditions to restore that area back there. There is a drainage swale in the left-hand corner that's already there. All that information, all that required work was done. So that was all done, but then adding pavement to that area may be an issue with the Concom.
We're not adding pavement, and it is not done. The Jersey barriers replaced in front of the drainage swale, which is diverting the water. They have to be removed. The grading of the parking lot, out back, the yard, it has to be redone. If you're here in a
That's why I'm
rainstorm,
saying, that's gonna be next year's project, it ain't gonna be this year's at all. All still in
Right.
ice, and we want to get this fixed out here before somebody falls.
And I have talked with the highway superintendent, and we're gonna come out here, and he's gonna help me with patching some of the bad areas.
It's like putting a Band-Aid on a stitch.
And on that note, I understand about the board trying to help out, but it really,
Throwing money in the river.
my understanding is the board is not supposed to be going out soliciting bids or prices for anything. That's my job to do that.
This was done before you
This
were
was
here.
long done,
There.
long before
All
you
due
were here.
respect, it was before you were here.
So, you know, in an effort to keep this place functional, the board had to help out here, okay? It's just a matter of, it had to be done. So there was some management deficiencies here for a while, okay? The pavement is only $9,500 to take care of that. I'm sorry, but where did the $60,000 come from to do the whole project? Where did that come from?
Me.
Okay.
How'd you arrive at that?
Similar projects of my past experience.
Well, would these guys estimate a paving job? They do it by a square footage.
Right.
Okay, so how do you go from doing the whole front here to do just a third more and come up with,
It's not just the
3
paving,
times as
it's-
much the cost?
It's the backhoe and whatever is needed to do out back to fix the, out back in the yard for the drainage.
Yeah, but if there's just a Jersey barrier, it's a 5-minute task to pick the Jersey barrier up and get it away from the drainage.
Currently, when it rains, it's not draining properly. They've done something out back by moving stuff
Yeah.
around, that they've changed the grade out there. There's piles of sandstone over here, there's a pile of dirt over here, and it's blocking the intended flow towards that drainage swale that's off.
When it gets plowed every winter, more stuff keeps getting pushed. 'Cause it's not
So,
paved.
I need to take care of that. And that's part of the whole thing, it's the whole
What is it, a day's work for the machine, half a day?
I don't know.
I mean, I realize that it has to be done down the road. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Get some prices and all that. But in the meantime, out front, we gotta just put binder down for the winter. And then when we pave the whole thing, we can top it all over.
There isn't any money in the current FY15 budget to cover $9,400 to pave any
Like I
portion.
said, we can put just the binder down.
But there's no money, we didn't budget for that type of money.
Maintenance, it's maintenance. Somebody's gonna fall and get hurt. Mary Beth.
That's $10,000, what line, okay, maintenance has several subcategories. I couldn't find anything that would tell me that paving comes under maintenance. It's not there, there isn't 10 grand to pave a portion.
Like I said, let's put the binder in. Before somebody falls and gets hurt, it's gonna cost us a lot more than 10 grand.
I understand that, but it's $10,000 out of the maintenance line.
No, it's
It
not.
isn't there.
If we only do the binder,
So what was the pricing for the binder?
we'll have to get it, rebid it.
The binder was the lion's share of it, because they have to tear up the old pavement and grade. It's the topping would be inexpensive, I think. Probably 2/3 against 1/3, or 75% against 20%.
So I'm wondering where we are with the maintenance budget. Have you gone through the maintenance budget and see where we are right now?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so we really don't know if there's enough money in the maintenance to do that. There may not have been a specific item like paving, but there must have been some kind of a category in there that was just to maintain our facility, so I think we ought to look at the budget. Do you have a copy of the budget?
Not with me.
Okay. The last meeting, we were talking about, you needed $150,000 for electrical costs. Oh, that's in this thing here, right? Article number 2?
This is on the draft.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so article number 2, you had $150,000 to cover electrical costs. What was the total budget for electrical costs for everything in the water department?
$67,000.
No, it's not. It's
For the water.
310,000. I looked at it. It's 310,000 electrical costs.
There was $60,000 in electrical costs for well number 2 that I could see in the budget.
Yeah.
And $67,000 that was for the new treatment plant.
Well, something must have got flipped, Mary Beth, because there were $310,000 in that budget. So the last time I looked. So,
I'll have to take a look at that.
When we went over, that, because we got it from the light department, they figured what we had.
oh, we were going back and forth with
And
that
that's
for
what they
3
came
weeks.
up with, correct?
Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
Well, we well, do we need to get, we need to get this settled tonight, right? We need a vote to get these articles in by next week?
Yes, the
Okay.
22nd.
I thought we voted on that
But you already
joint meeting.
voted, you already voted on it.
I don't
just
remember
wanted to-
voting on it. We had a draft thing presented to us. We voted on that?
Yeah, the joint meeting we did.
All 3 of those articles?
These are the articles that I'll be moving forward, so you voted to appropriate, you voted to appropriate the funds.
We voted to transfer the
Right.
fund out of one
Right,
fund into something else.
and in order to do that, we have to do that as an article in town meeting.
Yeah, but we've already voted for it when we had the meeting at the selectmen, correct? We don't have to vote on this tonight.
I thought we voted to transfer, and correct me if I'm wrong, because, you know, maybe I was tired that night, but I thought we had voted to transfer money to cover extending the subcontract services to keep the plant manned. I thought that's what we voted for. From one fund to another. It was line whatever to line whatever. I don't remember all these articles being before us at the joint meeting.
No, I just prepared these last week, you know, these articles. I put, after the meeting, the joint meeting, I prepared these, the draft articles.
Right, so the draft articles on this weren't what we voted for at the joint meeting, because all we did was we voted to transfer X amount of dollars to cover subcontractor expenses to keep our treatment plant running or manned, right? But it wasn't all these other articles.
So we need to vote on this tonight.
I don't know, I'm confused now, because you just told me that we voted on this, and I don't think we did.
I think it was a transfer, I'm not 100% sure, but to transfer the monies from the different lines to cover the,
I don't think it's still good. I think it's still in the house.
well, it doesn't hurt to vote on it again, just in case. 'cause
No, I'm just saying, I was just wondering if I had it out to pick up it up, but I don't think I do.
You know, the 60,000, you know, I'd vote on an article for 60,000 if I saw the pricing here. He presented that, you know, this is what we estimate as the cost, and this is the other cost, other projects that were similar, that this, you know, you gotta have some backup here. The other one is the electrical thing, so that needs to be looked at again.
So
Do we need another meeting before the warrant closes?
then it's gonna have to be a special or an emergency, because the 22nd is right around the corner.
I know, so we're backed against the wall, and,
Today's the 16th, and
It's next Tuesday, isn't
when's the 22nd?
it?
Second Monday.
Monday.
so where did the 50,000 come from for water treatment chemicals? We had Glenn and Mark Griffin, who were, you know, very experienced water treatment guys, come up with those numbers for that budget. So how come they were so far off? $50,000 is a lot of money for water treatment chemicals. And we haven't even been running the plant as long as that they thought it would be running, because they thought it was gonna be running in May. So now it's running in end of August, September.
So this is just my recommendation.
Okay.
Until we have a full year under our belt of operating that treatment plant,
We got
there's a lot of unknowns on what things are gonna cost. the monies that we're asking to transfer isn't gonna disappear. If you vote to transfer this money, it just
If you
gives
don't
us,
use it, it
it
stays
goes
in
right
the,
back where it came from, the stabilization fund. And it won't get spent. But it's there to cover these costs, because
we
it
need
really is an unknown. And like, we have to go through 4 seasons of operating that plant, because there'll be different demands on electricity throughout the seasons. Chemicals will go up and down, you know, as we tweak the
we
process.
don't know nothing about it
We
right
really
now.
don't, because we weren't provided with that information, so we're gonna have to build our own database on this. So, it's not like the money's gonna go away. We just tie it up for a few more months, and at the end, it gets released back.
It's not like we're asking money out of the town.
We're not asking for.
We're taking
we
it out of
already have-
stabilization.
That's right, it's coming out of stabilization, we already have this money, it's sitting there for the purpose of the treatment plant, so that if something came up, we wouldn't have to raise the rates, this would supplement the rates, if, you know, something we had to do, and other unforeseen stuff like this. So,
I'm just not comfortable hitting the stabilization fund so high. The money's there for a rainy day, but we need it.
it's the board's, well, if you don't want me to.
Well,
move
the thing
forward-
is, still,
Yeah, but,
we
you
don't
know,
want to look.
I know.
What we
I
do
know,
is-
I
what we've
just
been-
did how I felt.
I know, but what we've been doing too is we've
Maybe
been
this is.
going to the Board of Selectmen, and they can transfer the fund at one of their meetings, so. So you don't have to have an article. You can also get a transfer from the Emergency Stabilization Fund, just by going to a Board of Selectmen meeting, can't you?
I mean, Andy can answer that question a lot better than any of
What
us.
happened, the rates went up, the rates were raised too soon. That's why we ended up with so much money in stabilization fund.
I think it would be best to go with the article. That way it's very clean and everybody knows what's happening. The money's there specifically for that purpose, for unforeseen circumstances. And, you know, you're there now. It's basically, it's pouring outside.
Well, actually, that plant's trial and error for a few months to get
So do I have a
a
motion
handle on the cost.
to go with these? And I mean, it's not like we're wasting the money, it's gonna stay in the account, we don't need it for that electricity.
We voted for that at the selectmen's meeting.
She said we didn't.
I think we voted to the monies, you know.
We voted to transfer money from one fund to
So I
another
think it
fund
doesn't hurt if
to
we
cover
vote
the
twice. We should
contract
consistent.
work that we needed to do, but we didn't vote on this article, these articles.
Do I have a motion?
I wanna see more backup here before we vote on an article. Because one of us is gonna have to get up there and present it.
Excuse me?
Do we have the minutes for that meeting?
I can get a copy. Can I get a copy of
Is
this?
the joint meeting?
Because that way we know what we did vote for.
So, okay. So if we're not gonna vote on this tonight, then we have to, when are we going to meet again?
Well, if he shows us the minutes, we'll know if
Yeah.
we've already voted on it, what I'm saying.
I don't keep copies of that here, I mean, I can get it from town hall.
I thought we voted for all this at the town meeting.
You see, it doesn't look good if we're looking at, you know, like, you got 5 months left in the year, and we're looking for $150,000 to cover electrical costs. And I mean, I put the question forward. I don't think we budgeted $67,000 for the whole department and that
The
treatment.
thing is, Tim, it's gonna go back in.
Well, I know that.
If we don't.
But
But I mean,
how does it look to the public that we're gonna go $150,000 over? Well, $50,000 on treatment chemicals, and $21,000 for Paul filters. What is that for?
How's it look if we,
The Paul
Run out
filters,
of money.
21,000, what does that constitute? $21,000 for Paul filters. They're brand new.
That's the
But
reserve
that's-
for the
That goes in each
life,
year.
that's.
210,000.
Yeah, but they put money in there, and then they found out that the money was overestimated, so they got plenty of money into that fund.
Okay, that 21,000 times 10 years, 210,000, what they figured.
Yeah, but that could go into the May
Tomorrow.
meeting.
Excuse me?
Then go to the May meeting. You don't need to do it in a special meeting. We'll have more time to review it. we're just jumping too fast here. What we're used to is looking at this and saying, okay, do we have the backup for that? So it's your experience that these are the numbers you're doing, but so $150,000 electrical cost kind of puts me on tilt for everything else, Mary Beth. I'm questioning everything now. So the electrical budget, I think that we put forward was like close to $310,000 in electrical costs for the department. So I know that we can't talk, but we're talking right now. We're at a meeting, talking through the chair here.
No, we can have a conversation in this meeting,
That's what I'm saying.
okay?
So when you were putting these numbers together, you could have easily talked to me, who worked on the budget, and got the numbers. So it's like, what I'll do is I'll give Roy the copy of the budget that we had. And then you can look at the same budget that I'm looking at, because these numbers don't mesh with the numbers I have. So that's what I'll do is, tonight or tomorrow, I'll give you a copy of the budget, so then you can pass it to Mary Beth, okay?
Gentlemen, October 27th comes sooner than you
Okay.
think. We have to
This is what,
make a decision here.
okay, I have it. So, when the budget was being prepared, okay, there were two scenarios that was presented. The first scenario was to run the plant 12 hours a day. And the electrical costs alone were $240,000. Scenario 2 was to run the plant for 8 hours a day. And what was proposed for a budget number was $67,000. The water department or the board decided to go with, for the budget number, $67,000. That's what's in, that's what's in the current budget. So we're given two scenarios for an operating budget for the water treatment plant alone. One was
240 and 167.
for electricity.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I don't understand that, because you're taking a third off, go from 12 to 8.
But the 240
Why are they
and
going from
60
240 way down to 67? If that figure is accurate, we do need the extra money. I would jump.
And then, in the operating budget, there's well number two's electricity, $60,000 was budgeted for electricity for well number 2. That's currently what's in it.
Good question.
Now, is that gonna cut back any, or not?
Good question, Mary Beth. How did you arrive at $240,000?
Well, that's what Mark did,
Mine did, okay.
Yeah. so.
Why did we cut that so much?
I don't know if we didn't use the 240 in the budget.
But I
This is
took,
the expense budget, so,
that was the backup to the budget that was presented, but what I did was, is I got the electrical bills from the light department. And, I don't have it on me, but I had it for the meeting.
Yep.
All the backup, all my data and all my calculations to determine. And it was, I think it wasn't exactly 150,000, it was like 147 and change, but I just rounded it up for an even 150.
it's just like the 11th hour.
I mean, I
It
just,
has to, some information through the email system to you. You wouldn't read it because of the inappropriateness.
my suggestion is that we vote this in. It's going back into the stabilization fund. So we don't have time yet.
Well, I look at it this way, we don't have any choice, we have to vote it in.
So
I realize they're not all going at once, but there are approximately 30 pumps up to that new plant.
Do I have a motion?
I still want to think about it, so I'm going to abstain, so you guys can vote it in.
I mean, it's not like
I
the
don't-
money's gonna go back in if we don't use it.
I understand. I'm not thrilled about it, but
Yeah.
I feel we have to, so therefore I'll make the motion.
I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
Just don't spend it on that.
Absolutely.
In other words, there's not a one of us here that knows what the bill will be until it runs for 3 months.
Well, what I'll do is
Wait a month.
I'll forward some more emails that I was trying to send to her to help her, so I'll send that to you, just so you can give it to her.
Runs for a month, you have a good idea, and then you add so much more for the summer months.
You have anything else, Mary Beth?
We did have, one other, just the update on the treatment plant.
Oh, I thought we'd gone over that.
Well, not really,
Okay.
but, included in your package is the most revised punch list of where we're at. So the list is shrinking, so that's good. And, just a few highlights of what's been going on. The final capping and removal of that cross connection for well number 5 and well number 3 has been completed. So now both of those wells will be pumping through the treatment plant.
As now they out, or?
Yes. The asphalt berm that's around the parking, the paved areas, has been installed at the water plant. And the final paving at the water plant is completed, so it's all out at the intersection of 133,
I
that's
saw
all
that
done.
when I come by tonight.
And the paving around the treatment plant is done, and today they were doing the portion that goes from the paved, fenced-in area out to the first gate that runs through the conservation land. They were working on that, just grading.
Grading it.
Yeah, so that's getting done. Okay, that was it. The demolition of well number 5 on the interior has begun. We took apart the tanks with the held up the chemicals in it. So that was a combination of the water plant operators and the contract. We had to pump out the residual chemical that was left. And they're working on the final restoration and cleaning of the area, and the redevelopment and cleaning of the well field, number 5 well field. That's going to begin next week. And the fencing company will be out to continue and finish that 400 feet. The material still isn't in, but they're going to come and at least start setting the posts. He hopes that the material will be in either later part of this week or maybe next week. So we're moving forward.
Good.
And that's it.
So it's almost wrapped up, you're saying?
Yes. And then after that, they'll be going over to well number 2 to do the work at well number 2.
Now they've shut 2 down?
Just for a short period of time when they install the VFD.
Does anybody else have anything?
I have nothing.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.